1.9 will allow an extension of the wetlands down through a reserve between the dunes, Stretton and Zealy Sands, which feed then into the sands, which feeds into the Karaaf. The upgrade of the wetlands has already started, so the council has committed and started removing the weeds out of the foreshore wetlands, and out of a couple of, they're starting to plan to next year fix up 2 of the constructed wetlands that feed into those in Horseshoe Bend Road. Look, the problem with the current wetland, this is a salt marsh. So fresh water ain't its friend. Now, we've been drowning it. Of course it gets rain like everybody else, but what we've got to do is have a wetting and drying period, and hasn't had it. It's been fully wet now for the last 3 years because of the volume of stormwater coming down. So the first thing we've got to do is make sure the water we put in it isn't polluted, because, I mean, we've had algae blooms in here in the middle of winter. I mean, you're not meant to even think about getting them until sort of summer when the water's low. The new council, the new structures, they're now looking to bring the developers into the tent and to start to sit down with them and talk about what needs to happen and how they can work together to get a solution. I mean, everybody's got to kick in about this, and it can't just be one area enforcing. It's got to be everybody realising this is a significant issue. It's not just a Torquay issue, it's Australia-wide.
$1.9 million has been pledged by both major parties, the Liberal and Labor Party, which is fantastic. But it's not enough. It's a great start. It's going to do some work to clean up the man-made constructed wetlands in the housing estates in North Torquay. But what's really needed is probably about $30 to $40 million to build a dam to store the excess freshwater runoff from the housing estates. We're talking about over 950 megalitres a year, which otherwise is coming into the Karaaf and doing the damage. We need to store that water. We need to have the infrastructure to get it to the dam from the housing estates. And we need to have some agricultural business come into Torquay to use that water. And we need to have binding agreements that make sure that those companies are going to continue to use that water and make sure that that water doesn't overflow or end up draining back into the Karaaf where it's doing the damage. If it wasn't for the community groups that have been keeping the pressure on the authorities, nothing would be happening. Some of the authorities have been telling the local council that manages the storm water in the housing estates that there is an issue with fresh water in the Karaaf for like 7 or 8 years. So it's taken this long for all the community groups to get together and start asking the council to actually do something about fixing it up. The Karaaf wetlands has been a significant wetland for migratory birds. So there's birds that fly here every year from the Northern Hemisphere. So it's internationally significant. And for that reason, the community started a process a few years ago to have it Ramsar listed, which is like an international convention which recognises all these wetlands globally that migratory birds depend on for nesting and breeding and habitat. The Ramsar listing consultation is going to come out in the next few days and get this extra level of protection, which is going to hopefully look after the wetlands and just put more emphasis on the authorities looking after it.